Did you know the medieval world had textile secrets we've completely forgotten? Can you imagine fabrics so luxurious that modern technology still can't recreate them? What if I told you that medieval crafters had techniques so advanced that historians are still scratching their heads? Number 1. Byzantine Silk, the imperial secret. Ever wonder why emperors were willing to smuggle silkworms in hollowed-out walking sticks? The Byzantine Empire guarded its silk production techniques with deadly seriousness. In the shadowy workshops of Constantinople, master weavers created a type of silk so luminous it seemed to glow from within. Called imperial purple, this wasn't just any silk, it was literally worth its weight in gold. The secret: a complex dyeing process using thousands of murex sea snails to create a purple so vibrant that modern chemistry struggles to replicate it. The Byzantines didn't just dye silk, they transformed it. Their weavers developed a technique where gold thread would be wrapped around a silk core, then woven into patterns so intricate that a single ceremonial robe could take a year to complete. Emperors wore garments containing literally pounds of gold, creating fabrics that shimmered and changed color as they moved. What made Byzantine silk truly special was something called double-faced weaving. Imagine a textile with completely different patterns on each side, not reversible patterns, but entirely different designs, with no visible threads connecting them. Modern weavers have theories about how this was achieved, but the exact technique remains elusive. When Constantinople fell in 1453, many of these master weavers fled, taking their secrets with them. The specific techniques for creating the most valuable Byzantine silks died with them. Modern attempts to recreate these fabrics have never quite captured their legendary luminosity and color-shifting properties. The most heartbreaking part: we know exactly what these fabrics looked like because they've been preserved in royal tombs and church treasuries. We can see them, we just can't remake them. Number 2. Wool of the golden fleece, the forgotten fiber. Have you ever heard of golden wool that wasn't actually dyed? The medieval world had access to a type of wool so fine and naturally golden-hued that it became the stuff of legends. This wasn't ordinary sheep's wool. Medieval herders in certain remote mountain regions raised a now extinct breed whose fleece had a naturally golden sheen. Unlike modern wool, which typically requires harsh chemical processing to remove lanolin and other natural oils, this wool was processed using a series of fermentation baths with specific plants that enhanced rather than stripped its natural properties. The resulting yarn was lightweight yet incredibly warm, water-resistant, and had a natural luster that no modern wool can match. It was so valued that falsifying this golden wool became a crime punishable by cutting off the fraudsters' hands in some regions. What made this wool truly special was the spinning technique. Modern wool is typically spun with a relatively low number of twists per inch, creating a lofty yarn. Medieval spinners working with this golden wool used a complex multi-stage spinning process, creating a yarn with both incredible tensile strength and surprising elasticity. Clothing made from this wool was said to last for generations without wearing through, while maintaining its golden sheen and softness. More importantly, it didn't itch like modern wool, a quality modern manufacturers have spent millions trying to engineer into contemporary wool products. The extinction of the sheep breed during the Little Ice Age of the 14th century, combined with the loss of the specialized processing knowledge during the Black Death when many master crafters died, means this technique is truly lost to time. Modern attempts to recreate golden wool using selective breeding have produced fibers that look similar but lack the legendary durability and comfort. Archaeological finds have discovered fragments of this golden wool fabric in preserved conditions, confirming it wasn't just a myth. The wool exhibits microscopic structural differences from any known modern sheep breed, suggesting this truly was a unique fiber we no longer have access to. Number 3. Nailbinding, the pre-knitting revolution. Did you know Vikings had a textile technique so durable it outperformed modern knitting? Before knitting became widespread in Europe, there was nailbinding. Nailbinding, pronounced roughly Nålebinding, looks somewhat like knitting at first glance, but it's created using a single needle rather than two. The technique creates fabrics that are incredibly stretchy yet won't unravel even when cut. Try doing that with a modern knitted sweater. Viking explorers wore nail-bending socks and mittens that could withstand Arctic temperatures while remaining flexible. Unlike knitting, where one dropped stitch can unravel an entire row, nail-bending creates a structure more akin to modern looped carpeting. Each stitch is locked to its neighbors in multiple places. What makes this technique particularly fascinating is its heat-regulating properties. Garments made with nail-bending have been recovered from archaeological sites and tested, revealing they maintain body temperature more effectively than modern machine-knit equivalents. The structure creates tiny air pockets that provide insulation without bulk. While the basic technique of nail-bending survived in isolated pockets of Scandinavia and the Baltic regions, the most advanced variations, ones that created fabric that could stretch in multiple directions while maintaining shape, have been lost. Modern craftspeople have identified over 50 different historical stitch patterns from archaeological remains, but evidence suggests there may have been hundreds more. The technique fell out of favor when knitting arrived in Europe, likely because knitting with 2 needles is significantly faster. But that speed came at a cost. The incredible durability of nail-bending has never been matched by knitted goods. A nail-bending mitten could last a lifetime of hard use. A knitted one might last a season. Perhaps most interestingly, nail-bending appears to have been independently invented in multiple places around the world, from the Andes to ancient Egypt, suggesting its structural properties were so valuable that different cultures converged on the same solution. Yet despite this worldwide importance, the technique nearly vanished entirely, surviving only through archaeological detective work and dedicated crafters reverse engineering ancient fragments. Number 4. Paradoxical linen, the luminous cloth. What if I told you medieval people had bed sheets smoother than your highest thread count modern linens? The medieval approach to linen processing created fabrics of such extraordinary quality that they were considered valuable enough to specifically mention in wills. Unlike modern linen, which is typically harvested by machines that break and damage fibers, medieval linen began with hand harvesting. Plants were pulled from the ground rather than cut, preserving the full length of each fiber, some reaching nearly 6 feet long. These fibers then underwent a process called redding, where the plants were submerged in specific ponds or streams whose microbial composition would break down the pectin, binding the fibers together without damaging the fibers themselves. What made medieval linen truly special was the bleaching process. Modern linens are typically bleached with harsh chemicals in a matter of hours or days. Medieval linens underwent dew bleaching, a process where the fabric was laid out in meadows for months, sometimes years, being regularly dampened with water and exposed to sunlight. This gradual process preserved the strength of the fibers while achieving a white so pure it seemed to glow. The resulting fabric was then beaten with wooden mallets on smooth stones, often for days, to achieve a suppleness that modern processing can't replicate. The finest medieval linens were so smooth they were described as feeling like water against the skin. Perhaps most remarkably, medieval linen became softer and more luminous with each washing, the opposite of modern linen, which typically becomes rougher with use. Archaeological examples of medieval linen that have survived for centuries still maintain a drape and sheen that modern manufacturers can't achieve. The full process of creating the finest medieval linen could take up to 3 years from planting to finished cloth. When industrialization arrived, these time-intensive methods were abandoned for faster production. While modern linen is still considered a premium fabric, it lacks the legendary luminosity and paradoxical combination of durability and softness that medieval examples possessed. The truly lost element isn't just one technique, but the entire ecosystem of knowledge, from selecting the right seeds for different soil types to the specific timing of harvest based on moon phases, to the combination of meadow plants that created the ideal dew bleaching environment. This integrated knowledge has been fragmented and largely forgotten in our rush for faster production. Number 5. Tapestry of Light, the gleaming threads. Have you ever seen fabric that seems to move and shimmer like it's alive? Medieval weavers created tapestries so vibrant they appeared to glow from within, utilizing a technique that modern textile experts still can't fully explain. Unlike modern tapestries, which typically use dyed woolen threads, these illuminated tapestries incorporated specialized threads treated with a mixture of mineral compounds, plant extracts, and in some cases, crushed insects. The exact formulations varied by region and were closely guarded secrets passed from master to apprentice. What made these tapestries truly remarkable was their interaction with light. Certain threads would appear silver in daylight but golden in candlelight. Others would seem to change color entirely depending on the viewing angle. This wasn't just clever use of different colored threads, it was a fundamental alteration of how the fibers themselves interacted with light. Analysis of surviving examples shows these weren't simple metallic threads as we might use today. Modern metallic threads are typically plastic with a metal coating, or metal wrapped around a fiber core. The medieval versions used actual silver and gold processed in ways that created microscopic structures that diffracted light, similar to how butterfly wings create iridescent colors not through pigment but through structure. Perhaps most impressively, these tapestries maintained their light-reflecting properties for centuries. While modern metallic threads tarnish or the metal flakes away from the core thread, properly preserved medieval examples still demonstrate their light-manipulating properties hundreds of years later. The technique reached its peak in the 14th century before gradually declining. By the 17th century, the specific knowledge of how to create these light-responsive threads had largely vanished. While records mention various ingredients and general processes, the precise formulations and techniques died with their practitioners. Modern attempts to recreate these effects using electron microscopy to analyze the structure of surviving threads have produced approximations, but never quite matched the luminosity described in historical accounts. The closest modern equivalent would be fiber optic technology, yet medieval artisans achieved similar effects without electricity or modern understanding of light physics. What makes the loss of this technique particularly poignant is that surviving examples are typically found in religious contexts, where the symbolic connection between divine light and these luminous textiles was explicit. These weren't just decorative objects, they were technology designed to create spiritual experiences through manipulating light in ways we're still trying to understand. What other incredible technologies might be hiding in plain sight, forgotten to history but waiting to be rediscovered? How many other lost textile techniques might be described in dusty manuscripts, misunderstood or overlooked? When we think of lost ancient technologies, we often imagine grand engineering projects. But could the most profound lost knowledge be in the everyday objects we take for granted, like the clothes we wear?